Hello everyone. So today we are going to review APE semester 1. So we'll start with some questions that are really important. If you can just go through this, you can prepare really well for your exam. So let's start with the unit 1, which is defining these terms. So first let's talk about competition. So it is a type of interaction between organisms or species in which both require a resource that is in limited supply, because we know competition occur when two or more species fight over the same limited resource, right? So in example we can write like squirrels and ants, they competing for nuts, or we can write like shark or other fishes competing for the same food resources, right? Next is predation. So predation is a relationship where one species hunts and kills another for energy, right? um, so its definition is basically it is a biological interaction between a predator that feeds on its prey, okay, like shark hunting seals, eagle hunting snakes. So this is predation. Then mutualism, it is a symbiotic relationship in which all interacting species they benefit from their relationship, right? So one species, like both species benefit from the interaction. In mutualism, like sharks and the cleaner fish gets food, shark gets parasite removed, right? And in clownfish and sea anemones, like clownfish gets protection and anemone gets nutrients from the clownfish waste. So that is an example of mutualism. Now let's talk about parasitism. It is a relation where one species benefit while other is harmed. That is host is harmed, okay, like worms living in fish, mosquitoes sucking blood from humans or from animals, right? Next is commensalism. Commensalism, it is a relationship where one species benefits, another is neither harmed nor benefits, like bison and cattle, right? um, they like when the cattle eats insect by the bisons are unaffected, okay. So that's how these definitions are really important. Now we are going to do question number 2. Let me zoom it. So we have to basically match it to the biome description, like match the biome to the descriptions. So there are some biomes given which are mentioned like A, B, C, D, okay. So we have to match it to their description. So first is poor soil because the nutrients are rapidly absorbed. So if in first case you see it is tropical rainforest, because they have poor soil because they are warm, humid, and this causes rapid decomposition and nutrient cycling, right? So with most nutrients stored in the vegetation, they rather than the soil. So because of the climate condition, the decomposition is fast, and that's the reason of poor soil. Next one is desert, because deserts are characterized by very low rainfall, right? Like their plants like cacti, they evolved to store water in their stems and leaves to survive this condition. Next, leaves changes color and fall of the trees. So this is temperate season, or we can say this is D, right? um, Actually, yeah, it is D, because temperate seasonal forests they experience distinct seasons, and um, like trees within them they shed their leaves in the fall to conserve water and energy during the cold winter months. Next is tundra, right? So where we have tundra, this, because tundra biome is defined by a layer of permanently frozen, which is called permafrost, okay, which prevent deep root growth and infiltration of water. Next, the fifth one, large herds of grazing animals. This is I, okay. because these are grassland with scattered trees that support large population of herbivores like zebras and their predators, but um, like they are getting destroyed because of overgrazing and climate change. Next, number six is basically temperate grassland. Like in North America, they we have historically been converted for agriculture due to their deep, fertile soil rich in organic matter from the decomposition of root. So, needle-like evergreen leaves. The seventh one is this is E. Yeah, because the taiga or like boreal forest is dominated by coniferous trees like pine, spruce, which have needle-like evergreen leaves that help them to minimize water loss and to shed snow in the cold climate. Okay, next one, cold temperature and low rainfall. This is tundra again, uh, because it has extremely cold temperature and very low precipitation. Next one, biodiverse terrestrial ecosystem is tropical rainforest. This one is ninth is tropical rainforest, which is, where do we have that? F. This one, because tropical rainforests, they are home to half of the species on Earth, half of terrestrial species that make them most biodiverse. Okay, last one is temperate rainforest, because they receive high amount of precipitation and they have moderate temperature that support dense forest of both. Okay, so that's why the last one is temperate rainforest, which is A. Okay, now let's talk about number three. So in question number three, we have to define terms that are associated with carbon cycles. Okay, let's see this. First, it is talking about cellular respiration. Okay, we have to define it and then tell if carbon dioxide increase or decrease here. Okay, in each of them. So first, cellular respiration, it is the process by which cells break down glucose and other molecule to produce ATP. So basically here, glucose is broken down and it produces ATP, right? And release carbon dioxide also as a byproduct. So basically this will increase the amount of carbon dioxide. Okay. Next is photosynthesis. It is a process in which plants and algae and bacteria, they convert light energy, right? Light energy into glucose or chemical energy. They consume carbon dioxide, right? They use it. So basically um, it decrease carbon dioxide amount of carbon dioxide. Next is combustion. It is a process of burning substance like burning fossil fuels, biomass. So it release carbon dioxide. Okay, it release carbon dioxide, so basically it will increase the amount of carbon dioxide. In decomposition, it is a process by which organic substance, they are broken down into simpler forms, right? So they also release carbon dioxide. So because they are releasing carbon dioxide, so carbon dioxide amount would increase. Okay, next one is sequestration. It is a process of capturing and storing atmospheric carbon dioxide like in oceans, forest, or underground geological formation. So basically this process decrease the amount of carbon dioxide in atmosphere. Okay, so now the next one is what is the largest carbon dioxide sink? So largest carbon dioxide sink is basically ocean, and uh, yeah, so why it is ocean? Because ocean is the largest, like it absorb vast amount of carbon dioxide from atmosphere, from physical biological process, right? So let's do question number five. um, so basically there we have to compare and contrast a short term carbon sink with a long term. So short term sinks store carbon for short duration, like for days or for years, but long term means they store it for decades or for centuries or even more. So short term could be plants, right? Short term could be plants, trees, and like we know that they store, release it through like photosynthesis, decomposition. But long term carbon sink, it is like oceans, right? Like we did in question number 4. So now we have question number 6. Here we have to define the steps of nitrogen cycle. We have to number these steps according to like what step comes first and then next. So first is nitrogen fixation. So all of these are steps of nitrogen cycle. So nitrogen cycle is really important here. Basically, um, like in um first one, nitrogen fixation. Here, like bacteria and microorganisms in legumes, roots, they basically they help it to like in the soil to fix it. So this is the initial step. So number one step, where atmospheric nitrogen is N2 form, right? It is in gas state. It is converted into usable form, which is ammonia, NH3. Okay, this is primarily done by nitrogen fixing bacteria in the soil and legume roots. Next one is assimilation. Assimilation, the plant absorb nitrates. Nitrates means NO3 minus, and ammonia, which is NH3, from the soil, and they incorporate the nitrogen into organic molecules like proteins and nucleic acid. That is called assimilation. Then third one is ammonification. So basically decomposers like bacteria and fungi, they convert organic nitrogen from dead plants and animals and waste products back into the ammonia. So ammonification, what is happening here? Organic nitrogen from dead plants and animals, it is converting back into ammonia, which is NH4 plus. After this comes nitrification. So fourth step is nitrification. It is a two-step process where specific bacteria, they like oxidize ammonia. Ammonia is NH4 plus, so it get oxidized and it convert into nitrite, which is NO2. And other bacteria, they oxidize nitrite into nitrate. Nitrate is NO3 minus. Oxidized means oxygen is added. Like here you can see one more oxygen is there. So after that, denitrification is the last step. So this is a microbial process where bacteria reduce nitrate NO3 and NO2, which is nitrite, back into the gaseous nitrogen form, which is N2, atmospheric nitrogen. Okay, so these are the steps involved in nitrogen cycles, and so these are the number these steps have. Like first is this, then this. Okay, now let's talk about other questions. So question number 7 is, most reservoir in the nitrogen cycle hold on to the carbon for short or long time. The major reservoir for nitrogen is. So basically nitrogen cycle, like mm, uh, this is the major reservoir for nitrogen is its atmosphere. We know like 78% of nitrogen is there in atmosphere, right? So then next one is, nutrient cycle has no atmospheric component. Phosphorus cycle has no major atmospheric component. Okay, then it is talking about to draw the hydrologic cycle. So um, we can just see this. Let me just go there and open it. Yeah, hydrologic cycle diagram. If you see this diagram, so from ocean it is evaporating, so the water is converting into gas, then it cool down, and and it convert into water again. So this is land precipitation. And through plant, through transpiration, it is also evaporating, which again when it condense, it take place, it come back in the form of rain, right? So there is a cycle, basically first evaporating, then condensing, and then again in the form of precipitation, it is coming back, right? So this cycle, this is water cycle, right? This is what it is asking you to draw. So you can just go through this. Let's come back to our next question. So question number 10 is asking you to provide equation of NPP, GPP, and R. So the equation is NPP, net primary productivity, is equal to gross primary productivity minus respiration. So NPP is just if we subtract respiration from the GPP, okay, that is the equation. Next one, which of these terms describe energy stored by photosynthesizer after subtracting energy lost? So this is basically NPP, right? Because the term that describe energy stored by this uh, is after subtracting lost, which is the respiration, right? Even from the equation you can see. So this is NPP. Okay, now let's go ahead. These questions are really important. If you can just go through this, you can get 100%. So explain the 10% rule for food chains. So 10% rule states that about 10% of energy from one tropical level is transferred to next level in food chain, and the remaining 90% of the energy, it is lost as heat or during metabolic processes, during movement, during like other processes, right? So as like from plants to primary consumers, and then primary consumer to secondary, and then tertiary. So in each step, only 10% of energy is transferring from this level to this, and then from 10% of primary to secondary, and 10% of secondary to tertiary. So where is 90% of energy going? It is uh, lost as waste, or as heat, or as in other processes. Okay, now let's see this one. We have to define these terms. Autotroph, so organism that produce their own food. Okay, let me take. So they produce their own food using sunlight, like through the process of photosynthesis. So examples are plants, algae, and some bacteria. Heterotroph, um, they cannot produce their own food, so they consume their food from other organisms or plant. Okay, from other organisms, or they depend on plants for food, like all animals and fungi and many bacteria. Producers, they produce um, their food uh, with the through photosynthesis. So grass, trees, all these things come here. Primary consumer, they are herbivore that feeds directly on producers, okay, like deer. Then okay, secondary consumers, these are carnivores or omnivores. So in producers, I mean in primary consumers, only herbivores comes. In secondary, carnivores and omnivores. they both comes, like small fish or frogs, spiders. Then herbivore, animal that feeds on plant. They feed that feeds on plant, like cows, grasshopper. Carnivores, they feeds on other animals. So flesh of other animals. They feeds on this, like lion, shark, snake. Omnivore, they feed on both. They feed on like plant and animal both. Like humans, bear, chicken. Then scavengers feeds on dead and decaying animal remain. Okay, like vulture, hyenas. Then decomposer, they break down dead matter and waste, and they recycle nutrients back in, like that they break down dead organic matter and waste, and then recycling of nutrition take place back into the ecosystem. So all bacterias and earthworm, okay, these things come here in decomposers. Okay, next one is, okay, only one is remaining, so which is, okay, detritus feeder, which is also known as detritivore, organism that feeds on dead organic material. Okay, so they also feed on dead organisms or fecal matters. Okay, but the difference is decomposers, they are breaking down uh, like dead animal remain, but these ones they feed on dead organic material. Okay, um, yeah, so now let's do question number 14. So here it says examine the food web below and identify each organisms by trophic level. Okay, so basically here plant seeds, needles, leaf litter have stored this much. How much energy would make it up to the spruce grows? Okay, so if you see, we know energy transfer 10% rule, right? So first of all, this is the energy of plants. This. Now we need using 10% rule of energy transfer, which says that only about 10% of energy will transfer from here to here, from one tropic level, right, to next. So the energy, we need to find 10% of this, which is 25,000. How do we find 10%? We need to do 10% of 25,000 kilocalories. So 10% is 10 over 100, which is 0.10 times 25,000. If you do this, then two zeros cancel out, you will get 2,500. Um, yeah, so this time, yes, we will get 2,500. Yeah. So this much energy would, out of 25,000, 2,500 kilocalories of energy would transfer from plants to spruce gross. Okay. Now from here, so we will write here 2,500 kilocalories. How much then it make up to weasel? So from here, next is this next tropic level, right? So again 10% of this energy would transfer to next. So if you find, because here we got 2,500, now we have to find 10% of 2,500 kilocalories. So 10% means 0.10 times 2,500. If you do that, you will get 2,500, right? I mean 250. So this will get 250 kilocalories. Okay, so basically we used 10% rule of energy transfer, right? Now we have to state their tropic level, right? So let's do that. So if you see, plants are producers, so I will write here this is producer, right? Then primary consumers, herbivores are this, whoever is eating plants, this, they are herbivores, right? Or we can say primary consumer. The one who is directly feeding on producers are called primary consumers. They eat producers, right? Then secondary consumer eat primary consumer. So this is secondary consumer, this is secondary consumer. Okay, so they are secondary consumers. Okay, that's how we can identify them. So now unit 1 revision is done. We need to focus on unit 2, which is biodiversity. Let's see that. Okay, so first question is asking describe why genetically diverse population are healthier. So they are healthier because they have greater capacity to adapt to environmental change, right? They can adapt to environmental changes, to disease, to other stressor, right? um, because so this include like they that's why they can survive and reproduce in the face of new challenges. Okay, next one is number 16. So when habitat is destroyed, species are usually the first species lost. Another type hit hard are those with the large small territory requirements. So when habitat is destroyed, specialists are usually the first species lost because they have very limited diet. Okay, limited diet, and they have very stricter habitat requirements. Okay, so stricter or narrow range is there. So another type of species hit are those with large territory requirements, as their specific habitat needs often cannot be met, right? Next one is four categories of ecosystem. So four category is basically provisioning, products obtained from ecosystem. So basically here products obtained like food. Next is regulating services, like benefits obtained from the regulation of ecosystem like climate regulation. Then is supporting services. Supporting services is necessary for production of all other ecosystem services like nutrient recycling, nutrient cycle. Last one is cultural. Cultural service, it benefits people obtaining from ecosystem through spiritual enrichment and all, right? um so okay, now let's talk about this question number 18. So which is saying describe um, island biography, include in your discussion information about impact of colonization rates, islands distance from main, and size of the island. Okay, so island biography describe how number of species on an island is determined by a balance between colonization and extinction rates. So basically, like if the island is closer to mainland, they have higher colonization rate because it is easier for species to reach them, like if the distance is less, right? And then for size, lands island they generally have lower extinction rates than smaller island because they can support larger more stable population and greater diversity of habitats, like so smaller islands have higher extinction rate. Okay, so basically if the distance is smaller, Then um, like it would be easier for species to reach them. So distant islands have lower colonization. If it is closer, like distance between mainland and island is less, then colonization would be more. And here, like if the size of the island is smaller, then extinction rate would be higher. Okay, let's talk about this, which is question number 19. And it says, describe environmental consequences of a large scale natural disruption like mountain volcanic eruption. So volcanic eruption is it's caused significant environmental consequences, we know that, right? There are some immediate destruction, some long term destructions are there. So you can say habitat destruction, right? There is pollution because of that, and it also change climate, right? It affect climate. And then nutrient cycling, because we know that if there is a blast, it will like destroy ecosystem and habitat, and that ash would pollute atmosphere, water bodies, right? And impact aquatic life. Then climate, because like if there is large scale eruption, it lower global temperature, right? So all these things are there. Number 20. So define and give example for each of the following species rules. Species endemic. First we have to define it. So a species native to a specific geographic region and found nowhere else. So it is just found in a specific region. Okay. So I can write here. Example, invasive is non-native species that is introduced to an area that cause harm to local ecosystem. So it is non-native. It can be harmful. Okay, like kudzu wine. Keystone species that has disproportionate large effect on its environment relative to its abundance, like sea otters. Then indicator, species whose presence, absence, or abundance reflect a specific environmental condition or overall ecosystem health, like lichen. They indicate about the pollution, right? They also tell us about air quality and frog. Then generalists, they can thrive in a wide variety of environmental condition, wide range of they can use wide range of resource. Okay, example raccoons. Specialist, narrow range of environmental condition they can tolerate, and they have limited diet. So this is wide range and this is narrow range. Okay, limited diet, like panda, bamboo trees. Then pioneer, first species to colonize previously disrupted or damaged ecosystem, and beginning a chain of ecological succession, again lichen or mosses. Okay. um Now we have next question 21. So let's just do with this, which is asking to compare and contrast primary and secondary succession. Provide example of the change in species seen during each. So primary succession occurs in areas without any pre-existing soil or life, and secondary succession, it happen in areas where previous community was disturbed but the soil remains intact. Okay, so this begins in barren environment, like newly exposed rock surface or from volcanic lava flows or landslide. Okay, but secondary occurs in areas where previous ecosystem has been disrupted or destroyed by forest fire, by flood, by human activities. Okay, So your soil is already present and process is much faster, right? But in this one, because it take time, right? Gradually breaking down rock and then creating initial soil, all this that take time. Okay, so yeah, now there is a diagram given, and this is asking what type of succession is shown to the right. So this is primary succession because it start with bare field, right? So it is indicating a lack of pre-existing soil, right? So that's why it is primary, because it started with bare ground. Next one is, as succession take place, how will total biomass, species richness, and NPP change? So they would increase because there is progress from bare ground to the forest stage. So total biomass increases due to more accumulated organic matter, large, more complex organisms. So richness would also increase, right? And NPP increases because the ecosystem become more structurally complex and efficient at capturing energy, right? So that's why all of them would increase. We are done with unit 2. Let me just drink a water. Now let's continue with unit 3, which is population. Let me check if my video is getting done. Yeah, it is. So, our unit 3 is population, right? So, it says explain following statement. Specialist species tend to advantage in habitat that remain constant, while generalist species they tend to be advantaged in habitats that are changing. So, basically, specialists they are best for suited for stable environment, while generalist um, they thrive in changing habitat, because we know for specialists they have narrow niche, right? Narrow niche means they have specific habitat requirements or limited diet that make them highly efficient in a constant environment where their specific needs are constantly met, right? Otherwise uh, it would be difficult for them to survive. For generalist species, they have broad niche. Okay, so they have broad niche and they can adapt to various habitat. Okay, because they can consume wide range of food resource. So wide range of food resource. Okay, yeah, that is the answer. Now let's see, we have given some age structure diagram. Based on that we have to answer. So read question number 30. So basically for each we have to list whether they are developed or developing, what type of country are they showing. Okay, so let's talk about first one. Here as you can see, the diagram 1, it is displaying population distribution by age group and gender. So the shape is influenced by birth rate, they or death rate or life expectancy. Okay, so the first one, if you see from the bottom, it is white base, right? That means the country is developing. Okay, because it is like there we have high birth rate. Bottom part means the birth rate are high, and if you see at the top, it is becoming narrow. So lower life expectancy, right? So this is showing developing country. Okay, so like Nigeria, how we are identifying? First, we are analyzing if the base is wide or if the top is narrow. If the base is wide, it means there are large number of young people, because this represent young people, and top means old people. So if top is narrow, that means there are few old people. Okay, like this is representing old people. So this shape is telling that their birth rate is high, but in old age there are few people. Okay, now if you analyze second diagram, so in this one you can give example like Nigeria, that is a developing country. Second one is, um, if you see this, the diagram has more rectangular shape, like um, there is more even distribution across age groups. um, if you see, uh, like from the bottom, it is the this bottom part and the mid part, they are almost same, right? So um, and it is not, the slope is not like that. So again, this is also, this one is developed because it's not like that there are lots of birth rate and then death rate. So that's why the diagram has more rectangular shape with more even distribution across age groups, like across young and old. So this shape is showing that lower birth rate and higher life expectancy, right? Birth rate is not like in first one, so this is developed country. Okay, like US. The last one, if you see the third one, I mean, so um, in the third diagram, if you see the birth rate and death rate, uh, this is again developed country, right? Like you can see, they both looks quite similar, but old people are more here as compared to this, and birth rate is low, so this is developed country. And the last one is declining, right? Because rate is less and there are more old people, so the population is declining. So this is developed country again, this is population is declining over here. Okay, so in 31 it is asking which of age group diagrams have represent, let me just erase it. 31 says, which of age structure represent a population with built-in momentum for growth? So population momentum for growth occurs when a large percentage of the population in the pre-reproductive and reproductive age groups, even if birth rates start to decline. So that means there should be wide base, right? The base should be wide. So momentum, like large number of young people should be there, that ensure that population will continue to grow, right? um, so in the first diagram, it is representing a population with built-in momentum for growth because it has wide base, right? Which indicates large population of young individual who will soon enter their reproductive years. This is a reproductive year, and which would lead to increased population, right? So you can say diagram 1. And now we have question number 32. Let me just go down. So it says explain how each of the following will affect total fertility rate and growth rate in a country. So first we have infant mortality, then education, then availability of healthcare and urbanization, then private public pension system. So in like infant mortality rate, if there is lower infant mortality rate, it will, like if the rates of infant mortality is lower, then total fertility rates, they should increase, because when infant mortality rates are high, parents often have more children to ensure that some survive to adulthood, right? But if that is low, then total fertility rates would also decrease, right? So, because as healthcare improve and more infants survive, the need for insurance birth decreases, which lead to a decline in total fertility rate, right? So it is directly proportional. If this is low, total fertility would be low. So the growth would reduce, right? So if infant mortality rate is low, total fertility is low, and growth would decrease. So they all of them is directly proportional. Okay. Education, increased education and opportunity level for women, it lead to lower total fertility. Why? Because education empower women with knowledge, family planning, and it provide them economic opportunity outside home. So like they plan their family size and all. So as a result, both fertility and population they would decrease. If education increases, fertility decrease, growth rate decrease. Healthcare, greater availability of healthcare and family planning, it leads to lower total fertility rate and lower population rate. So if healthcare is good, then they both decrease. Why? Because access to quality healthcare include family planning, right? Allow individual and couple to control number of children and all, right? Urbanization, increase urbanization, it leads to lower fertility rate and lower population growth because cost of raising children is high in urban areas, right? Then pension system. In absence of pension system, people in some society they only rely to have on their children, right, to provide financial support and care in their old age. But now it is pension system is leading to low total fertility and lower population growth rate. So again, they both decrease here. Okay. So okay, now let's move to next question. So we have to define and give example of factor that limit human population growth. So let's see. So first one is density dependent factor and then density independent factors. Okay. Dependent factors that whose effect on population size and growth rate increase with population density. Okay. So basically it depend on population size and density. For example, competition, predation, disease. So disease, competition, predation, um, okay, all these things. Then independent means the factors that affect population size and growth rate regardless of population density, like natural disaster. Okay, so like flood, fires, earthquake, climate change, pollution, all these things come in this one. Equation of doubling time is 70 over growth rate. Okay, so this is the equation 70 over growth rate. It is also called rule of 70. Next, like if growth rate is 2%, how long it would take to population to double? So 70 over growth rate is 2%, so 70 divided by 2 is 35. So the answer is 35 years. It will take 35 years to double the population. Okay, next we have 36. Over a 10-year period, population grew at constant rate from 100,000 to 400,000 people. What is the annual growth rate of this population? So basically, how we have to do this question is we have to find the growth rate. We can use this formula which is pt is equals to p initial is equals to e to the power rt. So pt it is the final population, p0 is initial, and r is the growth rate, and t is the time. So if you see, this is final population is this, so we would do 400,000 is equals to initial is 100,000 e to the power r times time is 10 year. R is not given, that is what we have to find, right? So t is 10. Now if we just divide both side with 100,000, this will become 4, right? If we divide, this will cancel out with 100,000. So we have 4 is equals to e to the power 10r, right? Now we need to take log both side. Both side we take log. So this will become log of 4 is equals to, when log and exponential they cancel out, we get 10r. Now we can find r. R is log of 4 over 10, right? If we divide both side with 10, this is what we get. Log of 4 value is 1.38. If we divide it with 10, we get 0.138. Now, if we times it with 100, we will convert it into percentage, which is 13.86%. Okay, so that is the rate, 13.86%. Now, in the next question, it is asking to draw a graph. So I will just go there and I would explain demographic. Okay, let me just explain it. Okay, we can just go with this one, maybe this one. If you see this one, 5 stages of demographic transition. So in stage one, um, we can see stage one is birth rate are really high there and death rate are also high, right? And then 1 minute. Yeah, so basically in the first one, if you see, um, this diagram basically shows a country's population shift from high birth rate to low as the country develop. Okay, and different stages are shown here. Okay, so basically stage 1, in from stage 1 till stage 5s are given. So in stage 1 you can see high birth rate and the death rate, both of them, so which keep the total population stable and low. So no entire country remain like in this stage, because this is the like pre-industrial stage. So the develop, this is for developing countries. Okay, like you can see this age structure or population pyramid here, because both are high, so total population is low. In the stage 2, it is like still uh, it is early industrial, so birth rate are high but death rate are decreasing because of healthcare system and all. So because death rate are decreasing, so total population would increase, right? Because birth rate are high, death is low, so total population is increasing. Next one is um, post industrial area, so stage 3. So you can see birth rate are decreasing because women's get education, they are getting educated in this stage, so they are doing family planning and focusing more on their career and all. So birth rate are decreasing, death rate are also decreasing because of good healthcare system, right? So total population is increasing, but the increase was more, like the rate of increase was more in this stage. Here it is increasing but not at that much rate, right? Stage 4 is industrialized developed countries. So you can say the both are decreased, birth and death rate, and stable population, right? um, so that is the age pyramid for them. This is what it is asking you to uh, like draw in this question. Okay, this is called demographic transition. This question is really important. So It describe the shift from high birth rate to death. As the country develop economically, there are different stages, right? So we have seen from like high um, birth rate, death rate too, and how they fall, right? Um, Now we this is asking question number 52 is asking to describe El Nino and La Nina um, okay, effects that result from El Nino and La Nina. Okay, so let's do number 52, which is because these are the opposite phases um, of the E and SO cycle. These are caused by fluctuation in ocean temperature and atmospheric pressure in the equatorial Pacific Ocean. So basically the E and SO cycle, it describes the natural recurring interaction between the ocean and the atmosphere in the tropical Pacific. So basically the normal conditions, they are typically trade winds blow warm surface water westward from South America then towards Asia. So this allow cold nutrient rich water to rise up of the South American coast. But in El Nino, trade winds weaken, they lead to unusual warming of the sea surface temperature in the central and eastern equatorial Pacific. This warming suppresses the normal upwelling of cold water. So, in El Nino, sea surface temperature of sea surface increase and weakened trade mills, I mean trade winds, and then there is drought condition in some region like Australia and India, excessive rainfall and flooding. So rainfall and flooding in other areas, other parts of South America. In this one, cooler sea surface, cooler sea surface temperature in eastern Pacific, in east, and stronger trade winds, strong trade winds, increased rainfall in regions like Australia and Southeast Asia, rainfall increase in this region, and drier condition in the part of America. Okay, that's the difference. And then we come to the unit 5. So let's see this. So first question is explain the concept of tragedy of commons, and list three publicly owned natural resources this could apply to. Okay, now let's do it. So tragedy of commons is an economic problem where individuals have an incentive to consume resources at the expense of other, leading to overconsumption and degradation of shared resources, right? It applies to publicly owned natural resources because each individual, the users, they gain the full benefit of their own resource consumption, but the cost of the consumptions are spread among all user, right? Like in overfishing, overgrazing, right? All these things. So yeah, so in fisheries, in atmosphere, in public parks or grazing lands, in freshwater sources, there we can see them, right? So next question 54, describe each logging method and its environmental impact. So selective cutting involves harvesting only like certain areas of trees and leaving majority of forest intact. Okay, so its pros are like biodiversity is maintained. Okay, and it reduce soil erosion, okay, protect water quality, and it allows sustainable management. So then its cons are like it is time consuming, then it require careful planning, right? It require planning, and that is clear cutting involves removing all trees from a specific area, okay. Its pros are cost effective, okay, quick regeneration of fast growing. So this is cost effective, and cons are habitat destruction, right? And it also increase soil erosion, right? So yeah, that was it. Now it says name four ecosystem that provide intact forest, okay, services that intact forest provide. So water purification, right, and carbon uh, sequestration, biodiversity habitat, soil stabilization, right? Because forest absorb carbon dioxide, water like forest ecosystem filter pollutants, and forests provide habitats to variety of plant and animal species. So tree roots they help to prevent soil erosion. So all these services. In 56, it says provide a brief description of green revolution. Okay, so green revolution is like it is a period of rapid agricultural and advancement that occurred between 1940 to 70, between 1940 to 70s, and it involved development of adoption of high yield varieties. The focus was high yield varieties of cereal grains, particularly wheat and rice. So it also alongside increased use of irrigation, fertilizer and pesticides, using by improving irrigation system, fertilizer and pesticide. It focused on high yield varieties, okay. So it helped to alleviate widespread hunger and famine, particularly in developing countries like India and Mexico, okay. Next is 57. So waterlogging is the saturation of soil um, with water, raising the water table and expelling air, which damage plant roots. So it affect plant roots. Salinization is accumulation of soluble salt in the soil or groundwater. Okay, it often happen due to evaporation, like when high rates of evaporation are there. Aquifer depletion um, is over traction of groundwater from aquifer faster than it can naturally refilled, which cause water level to drop. Then saltwater intrusion um, is the movement of salt water into freshwater aquifers. Like it happens typically in coastal areas due to excessive groundwater withdrawal, and it also contaminate fresh water supply. Okay. Okay, now we have last unit, which is unit 4, earth system and resources. Let's focus on this. So let's start with question 1. Given a diagram, be able to type plate boundary. Okay, it is asking you to draw the diagram of plate boundaries of convergent, divergent and transform, which you can see here. So that's how it looks like. um, as you can see, convergent, both are coming close to each other. Divergent, they are moving away from each other. Transform, they are just like slipping around, sliding around one another, right? In transform. So these are the three diagrams. Then ring of fire is a major area in the basin of Pacific Ocean where many earthquake and volcanic eruption occur. So we have to relate to theory of plate tectonics. So basically, this area is characterized by the series of subduction zone where oceanic plates are like forced beneath lighter continental plate or other oceanic plate. Friction and melting of subduction plate create magma that rise to surface and form volcanic eruption. Then intense pressure and movement at these plate boundaries cause earthquake. Then hotspot, while often associated with volcanic activity, they are caused by mental like plumes rather than plate boundaries. Through their location can like when their location can interact with the ring fire area. Okay, next is how does soil form? So soil process are first is weathering, like breakdown of parent rock into smaller one. So first step is weathering. Then organic matter, decomposed plant and animal, they mix with weathered rock. So organic matter and decomposers they mix, and then it takes time. Slowly, it takes thousands of years. Okay, uh, that help. It also depend on climate, on parental material and all. Then 41 difference between weathering and erosion. Weathering is breakdown of rock, while erosion is transportation of those broken down material from one place to other. Okay, so that is the difference. 42 water holding capacity. So clay has highest water holding capacity because the particles are smallest in case of clay, and uh, they are packed tightly, so there is very tiny pore spaces that can hold water very effectively. Now in sand, particles are very large in sand, which result in large pore space that allow water to drain quickly. So that's why lowest is sand. Order in according to their size. So largest is sand. As I told you, particle size of sand is largest, then silt, then smallest is clay. Porosity and permeability. Porosity is amount of open space in soil, and permeability is how easily water flows through those spaces between particle. Okay, then we have to read this. Okay, let me just, yeah. Um, we have to read this soil texture triangle. The values of different types of soils are given, like 20% silt, 30% clay, and 50% sand. So first of all, we identify percentage of each, which is given there. Then we use the soil texture triangle to find corresponding soil type. So first of all, we find the 20% silt, which is there, and we mark it on the axis and follow the horizontal line across the triangle. So 20 is this. Then make a horizontal line from 20. Okay. Then we find 30% of clay. Clay is there, which is 30% is this. And we follow the line extending diagonally and to the left. Okay. So diagonally and to the left. Now we go like this diagonally. So Then we find the 50% on sand, which is this, and follow the line extending diagonally up and to the left. So, like this. Okay, this should go up like this, and then it will come like this. So, basically, this is sandy clay loam. Okay, now um, we need to do next question, uh, which is 46. What are the three most abundant gases in our atmosphere? List them and write their percentage. Okay. So we know nitrogen is 78% nitrogen, then oxygen is 21%, then argon is 0.9%, or you can just write other gases here. Layers of atmosphere from starting lowest. So first is troposphere, then strato, after that meso, then uh, and then exo. Last one is exo. So troposphere is the lowest layer where weathering occurs, and outermost layer is exo, which fades into the space. Causes that pause is, or why do the layers changes when you move up with altitude? So basically, this is change in temperature gradients. The pauses like tropopause, stratopause, mesopause are the transition boundaries between the layers. They occur where the temperature gradient reverses due to different heating mechanism. Like tropopause is when temperature stop decreasing with height, and strato is where temperature stops increasing with height due to ozone absorption of UV radiation. And meso is where temperature stops decreasing with height. Okay. Next is describe a watershed. So it is an area of land where all surface water converge to a single point. So it is area where all precipitation like rain, snow, they um, like drain or shed off the land and runs downhill into a shared outlet like river, lake, or ocean. Next is what causes seasons. The tilt of Earth's axis. Season on Earth are primarily they are caused by the axial tilt, right? Because we know our Earth is a bit tilted. It's not like this angle is 23.5 degree. So and we know uh, it orbit around the sun, so the tilt it causes different parts of earth to receive varying amount of direct sunlight, right? Because it is tilted, so sometimes this area receives sunlight directly, sometimes this. So the hemisphere tilted towards the sun, it experiences summer due to more direct sunlight. Like if this is sun, and this part would be summer if this is facing sun, right? And other part would be um like they would be having shorter days, and it will experience winter which is away from sun. So that's how it works. I hope it is understandable. Thank you.